Issue that I have traveled across the country. I've traveled to California, I've traveled to various states. Our lab decided to not jump very quickly into just purchasing a bunch of various equipment and jumping at tests. We wanted to figure out what was most appropriate to the caregivers and to the farmers, and what related most to their medical needs. What we decided to do is we have a lot of different tests that we offer. First of all, we can offer, of course, testing THC and CBDs, the basic information. That information is good when tailoring care, such as for a patient who might have a seizure disorder. For a person who suffers from seizures, you do not want to give them a form of this medication that is extremely high in THC. That will induce further seizures. You want to recommend that they work with a caregiver who has more of a high-base CBD medication. When it comes down to this medication, my biggest fear on a personal level is, no offense, the education isn't high enough to really, for you guys to be able to understand how to tailor this medications. You need to be able to put safety in place and be able to check specific pesticides. For example, our pesticides and insecticide tests detect nerve agents such as carbamates and organophosphates, which are less class of phosphorus-containing organic chemicals that disrupt the mechanism by which nerves transfer messages to organs. Basically, it's saying that there are caregivers right now in the state of Michigan who are purchasing nutrients from our grocery stores that are causing nervous agents. Our lab tests to make sure that all of the caregivers that work with the patients we serve at the RC Randall do not receive medications that have this. That is a requirement across the board if you look at labs over in California, Colorado, and other states. It's a basic protectant. That should be implemented. Solvent testing is another issue that is really, really hot right now, especially in our community. A form of the medication made with any solvent called Naptha needs to be written and outlawed immediately. And I will stand my ground firm on that. You, no matter what, if you appropriately purge this solvent, even at the correct temperature, you are going to have a chemical residue left that, if in great enough proportion, will kill the patient. I will tell you that my lab and my wellness center has worked very, very hard to work with very reputable medical facilities, because our doctors actually have continuing education credits in endocannabinoid science. My nurse is the first nurse in the state of Michigan who's taking this continuing education course through the Patients Out of Time and University of California. We're bringing this class to Michigan. I really, really am hoping that the state encourages any nurses that we have in the state to come to this class. Education is key when working with these patients. Testing is key. We need to know, and our caregivers, if they're providing quality care for their patients, they need to know what levels of THC and CBD that they are giving to their patients. And honestly, that's something that we owe to our patients, because this is a medication.
I have to wrap up there.
Sorry.
But if I can ask,
yes,
would you be open to allowing others to come and take a look to get a better feel for what it is that you do?
Absolutely. We, at any point in time, if you're interested, I would love to offer you an open house. You can come down, you can see the services we offer. One of the other things, too, that is neat, and I think that should be noted, is we actually just solidified working with the University of Wisconsin. And one of the things that I mentioned or heard a lot in the study, or people talking earlier, was about studies. And actually, we archive all of the studies in America from 1971 all the way through 2001, which could also be a great resource to the state of Michigan as well as we move forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Joe Cain and
Viv.
Viv Curl,
Yes.
with, you first tell us, NMMC.
National Medical Marijuana Coalition, and also Citizens for Human Rights. We both work in both organizations. The first thing I'd like to talk about today is McQueen did affect dispensaries. A bunch of dispensaries got shut down, but a bunch of dispensaries are still operating. They're still running. The big problem is McQueen didn't just stop with dispensaries. It took away the rights of patients and caregivers. The fact is if I help a cancer patient who's not my patient now by giving that cancer patient Simpson oil, I can go to jail. Prior to McQueen, that didn't happen. So our civil rights, the patients and the caregivers' civil rights got taken away. So instead of a rush to give commercial entities these additional rights to operate, which they're already doing, there should be a rush to restore our civil rights. I shouldn't have to worry about going to jail because I choose to help cancer patients. And regardless of what the law is, I think morally we should all. In that situation when somebody's been told they're going to die, we should try to help those people. And we shouldn't put the people who are compassionate in jail who are trying to help them. Now, what you're considering here today is you're not blazing new territory with this bill. You're not. Colorado's already done exactly the same bill that you're thinking about doing today. It's been in operation for over 2 years. And guess what? They just announced that it's too complex to regulate. It's too big. That they've never ever regulated medical marijuana in Colorado. We knew that already because we see all sorts of Colorado weed here. And I call it weed on purpose because that's what it is. It's low quality commercial weed. It poisons our patients. It's not, they don't flush it properly. It's not grown properly. We see it here all the time. So what you're really being set up to do is pass a bill that's going to fail for the state of Michigan. It is too big. It is too tough to regulate. And I'm kind of an expert on this. For years and years, I worked for Medicaid and Medicare. And what I did was design regulatory systems. And actually I implemented the first artificial intelligence system to detect physician fraud. That was my design. You're not going to be able to regulate this system. Nobody can watch all the cameras. Nobody can watch all the dispensaries. Not only will you not be able to regulate it, you're going to violate people's rights. You're going to ask these dispensary owners to turn in their patients. We're going to be keeping detailed records for 90 days. And at any time, any state employee can go in and look at those records. 6H of our law says you can't, but we're going to be overriding the act there. This proposed bill is unconstitutional as it stands, and it will be unconstitutional the day you pass it.
All right, we're going to wrap up right there.
Okay.
And I want to say again, you have the committee's attention on this issue. We've dedicated a full day to this. Typical committee hearings are an hour and a half. We're committing attention to this because we're trying to be proactive.
I understand that, sir.
So attacking a bill that is not currently before us is not doing anything to further us down the field. So with that, we're going to call up our next couple of Dennis and Patty Elsa.
I didn't get a chance to
representing
speak.
Patient Access.
Wow.
Dennis Hayes, Patients.
It's pretty bad I didn't get a chance to
I'm going
speak.
to have to help you with the organization. Brandy Zink, Americans for Safe Access. Whoever would like to go first, and please identify themselves.
I'm Dennis Alsop. This is my wife Patty Alsop.
Good afternoon.
It's on the record now.
I'm Dennis Hayes.
Yep, we got it.
What it says on the card, and I don't blame you for not being able to read my writing, nobody else can either. The only consolation is that the doctor's writing is worse.
That's right.
I'm here just to address very briefly the patients who can't physically be able to be here. We've been talking to them and trying to get them here, but that's been difficult. It would be very brief.
Mr. Alsop, Mr.
Yes,
Alsop, if you would please go ahead.
Back in 2006, I got bladder cancer, and 3 years I cut tumors out. I had a hernia operation, and at the same time they put